sailors, today we are going to discuss some things that crew members definitely complain about, but they low-key also keep going back for the same reasons. And this topic was actually suggested by just one of 100,000 of you, which is crazy. I'm still not over it. I am still absolutely flabbergasted. Isn't that a great word? 100,000 sailors. Isn't that amazing? But you know what was so funny is, so I hit it. I was laying in bed and I opened like the YouTube Studio app and saw that it was 100,000 exactly. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And then about 5 minutes later, I looked at it again and it had gone to 99. And I was like, and then I looked at it again 5 minutes later and it had gone to 98. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna go to sleep and wake up in the morning. And sure enough, woke up in the morning and we were slightly over 100,000, but I did have a giggle to myself. I was like, oh shit, we're just going to go down, because of course it always fluctuates. It always goes up and down, but I just never pay that much attention to, you know, how the subscriber count changes. So it was quite funny that, it was going down. But anyway, you are not here to listen to me waffle on, so let's get into it. If you've worked on a cruise ship, then you will know that crew members complain all contract long about the long hours, the lack of privacy, the fact that they're so tired. But then as soon as that crew member gets home, they start complaining that they're bored. Their friends are too busy to see them. So one thing that I definitely learnt through my time on cruise ships is that the grass always seems greener. When you're home, you want to be on board, and when you're on board, you want to be at home. And ships are a little bit conflicting, because sometimes you find that the exact thing that you complain about the most is low-key the thing that you like about cruise ships. And that's what we're going to be going through. Number one complaint will come to no surprise to all of you is the long hours. When you go to crew bar and you're talking to all of your colleagues, chances are you're like, bloody hell, we work so much. I don't want to go to work that early tomorrow. I wish we could finish an hour earlier. And you know what? This is a valid complaint, because yes, when you work on a cruise ship, you do work some really, really long hours. And sometimes you will find yourself on hour 11 of a 12-hour day thinking, what am I doing here? Like, why am I doing this? But here is the twist. The long hours give you momentum, routine, purpose. No time is wasted, and there is no time to overthink. I am an overthinker. To be honest, I haven't met anyone who doesn't think they're an overthinker. Pretty much everyone I've ever spoken to is like, yeah, I think. I overthink about things. I use my head. When you are working so much, there is no time to overthink things. And it's really nice. It's really lovely to not have the time to just, you know, overthink about a past conversation, overthink about the future. That's what I'm guilty of. But like, you're too busy to spiral, if that makes sense. And you won't realise the benefits of working all of these hours until you get home. And all of a sudden, you're on vacation, you have your 2 months off, and no one needs you. You don't need to be anywhere. And it's obviously needed, and it's lovely to just have time to rest and recoup and see your friends and stuff. But after like week 2, when you've caught up with all your friends, you've caught up with your family, and your calendar is looking quite empty, you're like, oh my God, I have all the time in the world to overthink. And have you also heard the saying, the less you do, the less you want to do?
The less you do, the more incapable you'll feel. You need to do things and gain that momentum in your life to prove to yourself that you are capable of them and that you believe you're capable of them. Obviously, of course, rest, relaxation, recuperation, all that stuff is important. But if you think that the goal of your life should be to only rest and never do, because sometimes I think we can convince ourselves of that if things require effort, then we're doing them wrong, you are going to do yourself a disservice.
Well, the same is true in reverse. The more you do, the more you want to do. So I would be on ships, I would work a 12-hour shift, I would happily go to the gym, and then I would go to crew bar, go to bed, wake up the next day. If we were in port, I'd get off in port, you know, like. And obviously there would be the odd day where I would stay on board and you would just need some time to chill. But generally speaking, you have that momentum and you can just keep going. Whereas when you get home, And after those first 2 weeks of being at home, when your calendar's a little bit more empty, you're bored stiff, but you also don't want to do anything, because the less you do, the less you want to do, which is when you kind of get into a spiral of overthinking, and it isn't fun. Also, in this day and age, productivity has never been like pushed so much, I feel.
Just working harder than everybody else.
Ignore and outperform them.
If you can outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast.
And consequently, we can feel guilty if we're not being productive. Now, this is not a good thing, okay? Rest is just as important as being productive. When you're on a ship, you don't have to deal with it because you're being productive all the time. I'm not saying it's healthy, I'm just saying it's something I didn't have to deal with until I came home from cruise ships. And maybe I should make a video on that, because that was a journey. But because you are productive all the time, like you're either at work or you are going out in port seeing a new destination, or if you are in your cabin having a rest day, you've earned it. You've worked a lot, so there's no guilt that comes from resting and having a morning off, because you're like, yeah, I deserve this.
Maybe I just need therapy, probably.
I don't think I'm the only one that suffers from this, where you feel like you need to be productive all the time. And yeah, the nice thing about working every hour God sends on cruise ships is that you feel productive all the time. The second complaint, understandably, is about sharing a cabin. Sleeping on bunk beds when you're an adult is, it's not what a lot of people had in mind. It's not what they think they'd be doing.
It's like we're two grown adult women that just met each other yesterday. We have all these nice conversations about all kinds of stuff, and then she just gets ready and goes to bed like she lives here. I go to bed like obviously I live here, and it's like we just met, she just moved in, we just met each other for the first time from opposite sides of the world, and we're just kind of like, well, it's just like, okay, I guess we live here now, we live together now, and this is us for the rest of our contract, like 5 months left for me and 8, 7 for her. And yeah, after a few conversations and chatting a little while, we both go to bed in a bunk bed with a grown woman that you just never met before, and now you just share a bunk bed in a cabin together. It's honestly so bizarre.
And sharing a cabin can definitely come with its challenges. You know, the cabins aren't big. You're sharing a bathroom. You've likely got very little privacy. The walls are really thin, so if you've got noisy neighbours, that can be an interesting time. So there's 100 things to complain about when you're sharing a cabin. If you get a roommate that you get on with, sharing a cabin can actually be like the best thing ever, because you're effectively living with your best mate. And this is the same, like if you're on land and you have roommates, you know, it's the same thing. If you obviously have roommates that you don't like, it's going to be a shit time. But if you land amazing roommates who you're actually friends with, sharing a living space is like hands down the best thing ever. You're having sleepovers every night, you've got the midnight chats, you've got someone to have a meltdown with, but you've also got someone to laugh with who understands you, who understands what you're going through. You know, of course, hopefully you can call your mom, you can call your friends back home and talk about things, but they're not going to get it. They are not going to get it. And it's so important to have someone to just chat about what happens on board who gets it. And oftentimes, if you're fortunate enough, that's your roommate. And sharing a living space with that person can be incredible. But again, you only really learn to appreciate it when you go back home. So the first 2 weeks of your vacation are hectic because you're seeing people that you haven't seen in 6 to 9 months. But then you've seen everyone and it peters off and your calendar is empty. And for the last 6 to 9 months on board a cruise ship, you have been surrounded by people constantly, whether it's at work, in the cabin, going out in port, like with passengers, you are with people all the time. So to then go home and maybe you're living alone, that's going to be interesting. Maybe you're not living alone and you're living with friends or family while you're on vacation, but the intensity isn't there. And the amount of people that you're seeing isn't there. And you suddenly realise like, oh God, this is quite lonely. And there was such a sense of community when I was on board the cruise ship. And yeah, I had no personal space, but I also had someone to share everything with. And now I just feel like I'm on an island on my own. And that can be a really weird thing to come to grips with because it happens when you're at home. when you shouldn't feel lonely. Like, when you go on a cruise ship, you expect to feel lonely. When you go back home, of course I'm not going to feel lonely. You can feel lonely on ships. I'm not saying you definitely can feel lonely on ships. But if you get a good group of friends and you get a good roommate, what you might find is that actually you feel lonely when you go home. And it hits you like a ton of bricks because you weren't expecting it. Anyway, the next thing is the drama and the fact that news travels really fast. I've said it before, I'll say it again. People know you have done something before you have done it. I don't know how it happens, but like, it's crazy. And again, if you're someone that finds yourself getting into trouble and, you know, you have your escapades, it can be really annoying, you know, feeling like you're on Big Brother and everyone's watching what you're doing. And the intensity is addictive, I think. You feel like you're on a reality show. There's just always something to talk about because there's so many people in such an enclosed space. Like, of course, there's going to be things going on. And then you go home and it's like, bloody hell, this is dull. This is really boring. It's another reason why people just keep going back, because it's like, I want my life to feel electric. I want to feel alive. I want to feel like something's always happening. And that's what cruise ships give you. Hierarchy and rules. So this is definitely something that people complain about, understandably. There's strict structure, uniform inspections, cabin inspections, crew areas versus guest areas. You're allowed to go here, you're not allowed to go here, you're allowed to do this, not allowed to do this. Different ranks, crew drills. There's some rules that feel incredibly unfair. And consequently, yeah, crew members moan about this. They moan about the fact that they can't use certain passenger areas depending on their rank. They might moan about the fact that they have to, you know, be out of crew bar by 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. They moan about the fact that they can't get off in certain ports until a certain time. Like, there's a lot of rules that don't actually make sense to crew members, and understandably, crew members complain about them to no end. I was one of them. However, something I realised, or really realised by coming off ships, was that kind of liked the structure and the clear expectations, the clear growth paths, the stability. But when you leave cruise ships and you leave that structure and you leave that order behind and you're just, you could do anything, be anything, have anything. Like, how do you choose? What do you do? And I found it really, really, really difficult, and realised that as much as I complained about the structure and the rules, I kind of secretly liked it. But you know, when you go to a Chinese restaurant and there's like 1,000 dishes on the menu, it's like, what the hell am I going to choose, right? I love when you go to a restaurant and they serve one thing, or they serve 2 or 3 things. And I feel like that's cruise ships compared to life on land. I realise that's a privileged, you know, position to be in, but also you're on a ship, there's rules, there's hierarchy. You do this, you don't do this. Great. It's a restaurant with 3 things on the menu. And then you come out into the real world and there is just an abundance of choices, which is lovely, but also not. It's not. There's a lot more room to make bad choices as well. I feel like this point is getting away from me, but the point is the structure and the rules is definitely something that people complain about, but low-key kind of like it. I remember speaking to one of my friends and he was like, I hate cabin inspections. You have a cabin inspection every week to basically make sure that you're looking after the cabin, you're not living in squalor, you know, you're cleaning it, you're emptying your bins, whatever. And he's like, I hate cabin inspections, but I need them. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I'm filthy. I'm so lazy. I hate cleaning. And if I didn't have the cabin inspections, like, my cabin would be gross. I was like, But I appreciated the honesty. And I was like, yeah, and that's it, isn't it? I feel like as much as we moan about it, it's nice to have that accountability. Anyway, moving on. Wi-Fi. I mean, you must have known this one was coming. Crew members definitely complain about the Wi-Fi. The fact that it's not very good. It's better now, it's still not great. But the fact that Wi-Fi is not very good, how expensive it is, how difficult it is to like log on. Because the Wi-Fi is not great, you can end up feeling cut off from land. I mean, perfect example, I remember being on Virgin Voyages just when the pandemic was starting. People on board that ship had no idea something was happening until we were told that we were going home because the Wi-Fi was so bad. Like, that's how cut off we were from like the normal world. We were all really surprised when we were getting sent home. And by that point, everyone was like, oh no, this is... Anyway. So crew members definitely complain about this, and it is a valid complaint. However, not having constant access to Wi-Fi means the temptation disappears. Like, my screen time is through the roof, just being honest. It's a habit to open YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all of those apps. Like, sometimes I will go on my phone to open up my email or my calendar, and I'll find myself on Instagram because so much of a habit that I open the app without even thinking about it, right? Whereas when you're on a cruise ship, you can press the app, but it's not going to open because you're most likely not connected to the internet. Or it's going to open but not load, whatever. It's so lovely because you're not sat there scrolling. You are fully present in whatever you are doing. And because your WhatsApp messages are going to come through when you log on to the internet, it means that maybe once or twice a day, you're going to log on and get all of your messages come through, reply to all of them, and then you're back to receiving no messages because you're off the internet. And there's something really nice about that because you're not constantly getting distracted by people contacting you all the time. And again, I think this maybe goes back to why you bond so hard with the people that you are on board with, because phones are kind of taken out of the equation. Like, people have their phone on them, but no one's really using their phone because it's not connected to the internet and you're at sea, so you can't just you can't text or call anyone using a SIM card. So it's a camera, effectively. People have their phones on them as a camera if they want to take a picture. In this day and age when we are all chronically on our phones, I think there's something really lovely about the fact that that's not a thing on cruise ships. And again, I really noticed this when I came home from cruise ships. When I would have dinner with my friends, either at a restaurant or in the mess, we're talking, we're conversing, we are fully present in the moment. I came home and went to dinner with some of my friends and I had to tell them to put the phone away. We can't help ourselves but pull our phone out. I hate phones at the dinner table. So having touched on all of those things, the real reason that even after all of the complaints, people still keep going back to work on cruise ships is because cruise ships give you something that very few places do. It gives you intensity, community, and momentum. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, you can complain. Yes, some days are bloody awful, just like they would be in any job in the world. But it is never dull. And when you go home on vacation, life feels slow. It feels dull. It feels predictable. And that's when you realise the thing that you were complaining about is the very same thing that was making you feel alive. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here and subscribing. But if you have any questions about working on cruise ships or anything, leave them in the comments, send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email at lucy@cruisingandcrew.com and I will get back to you. But thank you so much for being here. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next video.